Okay. Hello, everyone. We start our webinar dedicated to budget on Amazon, and today with us Michael Farrington, and my colleague Ross, and it is our second meeting with Michael, and we decide to repeat this experience. And today we discuss budget strategy. We will discuss Michael's software at budget tool, what benefit it can bring to sellers, etc., etc. So let's start. Michael, please tell a bit about yourself, and we turn to our questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. This is my second thing that we've done together. So it's great. So thank you for that. Thanks for having me back. I've been in the world of digital marketing as an entrepreneur now for about maybe 13 years. I started as a freelancer. I have a digital marketing agency. I have AdBadger, which is a Amazon advertising software. I have an e-commerce growth community. So I'm really in on all of this. I love talking to sellers and marketers to try to come up with ways that are better and more efficient to sort of give people an advantage in their overall digital marketing, and specifically here today to talk about Amazon advertising.
Okay, nice, Michael. You post a lot about budget, and you expert on budgeting on Amazon.
Yeah.
So, and you have your own software, and
Yeah.
share, please, what inspired you? What pains points and challenges inspired you to make this software, and how you did decide to do it?
Yeah, I think for me, I was really scratching my own itch. I saw things that I thought were very important to put inside an Amazon advertising tool, and I wanted to build that tool myself. I also like the fact that a majority of our users are actually agencies. So agencies really like using AdBadger because they can manage a lot of client accounts very efficiently. And I really do like that. So I even feel like I try to push Amazon advertising forward, and many of our clients try to push it forward. So in terms of why I started AdBadger, I just generally like helping people. I like the fact that people can do more in less time and get better results. So there's so many things there that I absolutely love that we do.
Mhm. Okay, and could you tell about your software, how it works, how algorithm maybe do you use? Maybe not share all your secrets, but basically structure of your software, so how it works and how it can be beneficial for sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I can actually share my screen, can I share my screen a little bit?
Sure, sure,
And
sure.
I can
Yeah.
I can go through some of the philosophy here.
Mhm.
Um, yes.
One
Okay.
second, please. Do you have?
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So let me go ahead and share my screen here. I think you could see my Google Slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to just sort of talk about, I call it like, the bids, uh, the bidding triad. Like there's three really important things to do when it comes to bidding. Um, and I want to focus on these two principles, which is this stands for target ACOS times revenue per click. So I want to talk a little bit about this principle and talk about how it relates to AdBadger. So I wanted to sort of share what a target ACOS is. And big disclaimer, I call tacos usually target ACOS. My disclaimer is that target ACOS should be tacos, and ACOTS, ad cost of total sales, except, That's my big disclaimer, that we shouldn't call it tacos. We should call it ACOTS, ad cost of total sales. The T is about the total sales. So anyway, you take your target ACOS, and it's basically the question of what percentage of your revenue do you want to spend on ads. So for example, let's say you're launching and you want to hit break-even ACOS. So your break-even ACOS will be your target ACOS. You're basically spending all of your profit to get a sale. And then you eventually transition into an evergreen target ACOS. And I just want to take a look at some math here really quick, because this is really how our bidding algorithm behaves. So you can still see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's say you had 1,200 clicks for a cost of $600. You have a CPC of 50 cents. Pretty straightforward so far. So that's just your revenue divided by the amount of clicks. That's your CPC. Everyone knows this. And I don't think people really realize that CPC isn't like a thing. It's actually these two things divided by each other. It's how many clicks by your cost. So your cost per click is 600 over 1,200 gives you 50.5. Now, your bid determines a lot. So let's take a look at how your bid determines your destiny, sort of. So let's say you had 1,200 clicks, 600 cost, you have a CPC of 50 cents. Now let's say you generated $2,400 of revenue. Is this good? Is this bad? What does this mean? Well, how do we predict what it should be? So there's a figure, and I've talked about this for years. In 2017, when we started AdBadger, this was one of the first things that we discussed, which is RPC. So you have cost per click, but there's also a revenue per click. There's how much revenue you generate every single click. So if you take your cost over your clicks, you get your cost per click. But what happens if you take your revenue over your clicks? You would end up with a revenue per click. $2,400 of revenue over 1,200 clicks is $2 revenue per click. So what does this mean? This means for the last 1,200 clicks, you spent an average of 50 cents per click, and you generated every single click an average of $2 revenue per click. Now, what's your ACOS? You can calculate your ACOS very easily. Your ACOS is just your ad cost over your actual cost, giving you 25%. Now, let's say that 25% is too high, and let's say you wanted to go down to 20%. What do you do? And this is where your revenue per click comes in so handy. How do you calculate a new bid? Well, you look at how much revenue you generate, your expected value, and you incorporate how much of that value, how much of the $2 per click that you generate in revenue, how much of that $2 RPC do you want to spend on your target ACOS? And this is just math. You could say, okay, I take $2 revenue per click, multiply it by 20%, and my new bid should be 40 cents. Now, if I get more clicks at 40 cents and my revenue per click is $2, I will land at my 20% perfect target ACOS instead of my imperfect 25% ACOS. So AdBadger, since 2017, I believe really pioneered this whole idea of RPC and revenue per click. It's been baked into our algorithm since day one of like every click that we get, how much revenue do we expect? And how much do we want to spend of that revenue for each new click? Now, it's much more nuanced than this, but this in its core is how our algorithm works.
Okay, Michael, but how you handle the situation when Amazon don't get your traffic? So your bid is 40 cents and Amazon don't get any leads to your listing.
Yeah. So basically at 50 cents, you got a lot of traffic. At 40 cents, you get very little traffic. You get a lot less traffic. So there's a couple different things to consider. Is that when we build our algorithm versus like using a spreadsheet or versus like just logging in and doing it, we get to build an algorithm that's smart. We get to build an algorithm that answers questions like that. So it's actually the third principle we have that you mentioned, which is as the moment you update a bid and you get the next click, what just changed? Meaning if I get 1,201 click, the RPC changes. It changes just a little bit, but it changes. If I get 1,300 clicks, 1,400 clicks, 1,500 clicks, the RPC is constantly changing to the point where if you were to look at multiple date ranges, so what is your revenue per click in the last 7 days, in the last 14 days, in the last 30 days, in the last 60 days? And you're absolutely right. If you also take a look at click volume, meaning, hey, I got 40 clicks in the last 7 days. Now I'm only getting 10 clicks in the last 7 days. And you begin to look at day parting or hourly data as well. Where do I actually get my sales? Should I be bidding the same everywhere? These kinds of things, I have so much fun playing with. So to answer your question, inside our algorithm, we basically got to ask ourselves a lot of questions, just like you asked, meaning, what if we change the bid and clicks go down? Well, let me ask you a question. What would be the human response? Like, how would you manage the situation where you're like, okay, the bid is too expensive, my ACoS is too high, let me reduce it? What would you do in that situation?
Ross, tell please what we do. Ross is the team lead of our inner traffic direction. So
yeah, I believe it was more of a theoretical question for Michael, no?
Yeah.
So you just need to constantly ask yourself what to do in different situations. And that will depend on what metrics do you see and stuff like that. But I have one more question to you about your algorithm and stuff. So basically, if we if I understand everything correct, in the core of your algorithm is target ACoS, and it's basically it's very similar for what we see on Amazon now. It is like the force campaign bidding strategy, rule-based bidding that is targeting for ROAS. So it's basically like we can set our target ROAS. So is it any different from what we have on Amazon?
Yeah, so one thing I always like to think about is like Amazon has different goals than the seller does. So like Amazon doesn't really care if you get a 20% or 25% ACoS as long as you're there advertising. So I think, it's the benefit of like having an agency, or the benefit of having a contractor, or the benefit of, having a software advocate for you. So basically, we're trying to get back control for what the seller wants to achieve, as opposed to what Amazon wants to achieve. And also, to that point, we provide a lot more, I believe, control. Like one other thing that we have too is we have maximum bids and minimum bids, where you're basically saying, I never want to go above $1, or I never want to go below 50 cents or anything like that. So like when you're inside of the tool and you go and you turn on bid optimization, one thing that you get is a minimum and maximum bid. So what that means is, if you have a sense of where you want your bids to be, maybe it's a ranking keyword, or maybe it's a branded keyword, and your branded traffic, you might not ever want to bid above 10 cents, and you never want to bid below 5 cents. Like maybe your branded traffic you want to keep in a narrow range. So we provide this kind of control that allows you to say, hey, I want some automation, but I also want to do it my way. I also want to keep it in a particular range. So getting some of that control back from Amazon, I think, is really valuable.
Yeah, that's true. So you bring up an interesting topic about date ranges and stuff.
Yep.
So it is very important, like, to look into different date ranges to analyze analytics. And actually when we do like bid optimization and stuff, we always like need to like give the algorithm some time to adopt to the new bid and stuff. So how often do your software changes like the bids? So what is the
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we generally find is that, so let's go back to that example, actually, before we go anywhere else. If we go to this example, and you can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we go to this example and you get 10 more clicks, your revenue per click might go up or it might go down, meaning the next click you get will either convert or not. It's very rare that every single day is exactly the same, where like every day you get 20 clicks and every day you have a 5% conversion rate. Instead, it's like today you'll get 20 clicks with a 5% conversion rate. Tomorrow you'll get 40 clicks with a 3% conversion rate. The next day you'll get 10 clicks with a 2% conversion rate. Like it goes all over the place every single day. So there's a couple things we do to incorporate that, which is to, number one, look at multiple date ranges for any single given bid. So we look at last 7 days, last 14, 30, 60 days to try to have a weighted RPC. So what is the most valuable thing? Are you trending upwards? Are you trending downwards? If you're trending downwards, then maybe we get a little bit more conservative. If you're trending upwards, we get a little bit more aggressive. So we actually have a double focus. What I mean by that is we look at the campaign level ACoS. We look at how the campaign is doing, and then we use that to inform individual bids. So what I mean with that is if the campaign's going great, if you're targeting a 20% target ACoS and you're at 10% target ACoS, you can get a little bit more aggressive. You can bid a little bit harder. And then if you're over your campaign ACoS, individual keywords, you want to be a little bit more conservative. Now, from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, you might get 10 clicks a day, 20 clicks a day. So you just change a little bit. So from day to day, we update daily, but we just change it a little bit so that as you get more data, we move in a particular direction. So if your next conversion is really, really strong, your next day is really, really strong, let's say it's 20% better than yesterday. We won't change a bid 20%. Most bids are changed 1% to 5% per day. Meaning if you were bidding 50 cents, even if the math tells you like, hey, it should be, your new bid should be $1, we'll never jump from 50 cents to $1. Instead, it'll be like 50 cents and just 1 or 2 or 3% above 50 cents. So it might go 50 cents to 52, maybe to 52, from 52 to 55, maybe from 55 to 57. So it'll move slowly. And what that allows you to do is, like, as traffic converts better, you react. As traffic gets worse, it reacts. But micro changes are much better than big macro changes, where you could potentially overshoot or undershoot. Instead, we're just sort of moving and reflecting based on how the data comes in. So if you get a lot of data compared to where you were 60 days ago, it might move a little faster because we're a little bit more confident. But for the most part, it's 1 to 5% per day. So it's daily, it's controlled.
Michael, as I understand, you change, you do bid adjusting every day, but maybe you have cases when you change bidding during a day. For example, you rise your bids in day and make it lower in evening or morning.
Yeah.
Do you adjust or not? You change 1 time per day.
So the answer is it depends. So we give our users a lot of control in terms of how they want to utilize this. So for example, some people like to get a little bit more aggressive. Some people like to be a little bit more conservative. So our base algorithm does once a day, which is most suitable for most people because you need a lot of data to do this. So what you can do inside App Badger is you can go back and look at, the last 365 days of how a particular product sells in any given hour of the week, which is really neat. So what this allows you to do is like heat map, where do you get your sales? So I can see that, for this, and this is very common with most products, it's normally like, 9 to 5, 7 to 7, give or take, like 7 to 5, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., where people get most of their sales. So should you change your bids midday? For many people, if you don't have a lot of data, it probably won't matter. Meaning if let's say this was like one sale, two sales, and then over here it was like once, like if there wasn't a big difference, it doesn't make a big difference. But if you get massive swings, so here you can see that, at midnight, we only get like $300 of sales.
Mm-hmm.
But at 9 a.m., that's a massive, massive difference. 800, 1,400, 1,000, 1,400, 750, 1,300. So you get so many sales. And then on Sunday, almost nothing. So in a case like this, it would be a good use case of taking this and bidding a little bit more aggressively at 9 a.m. on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Why? Because if you get, you can take some spend from midnight at 1 a.m. and go a little bit harder on these timeframes, get in a higher position, get more clicks, get more traffic, because you convert so much better, you would have a benefit. So if you think of all the things that you would do manually sitting at your computer, changing bids in reaction to what the data is doing, this is what we sort of built AdBadger to do, to sort of like do the best practice optimization for you. But obviously a computer can do it a lot faster and more accurately than we can. So day parting is suitable for high volume, very different data. So I would say what we have in front of the screen is an example of that. So I would go in here and I would bid a little bit more aggressively from maybe 7 to 3 p.m. most days, and hit that area really hard, get a little bit more aggressive, get more clicks, get more sales, and then I would save a little bit in the middle of the night. So yes, this does help, and it helps a lot when a keyword gets dozens and dozens of sales per month, as opposed to like one a week. Imagine you got one sale a week, only one of these things would be filled in, one rectangle on this entire chart. So you need a lot of sales to make day parting really valuable.
Okay.
I want to go back to how like Amazon algorithm is working in general. So you told that bits changing on a daily basis, and it is like evaluating how was the efficiency like during past day, during past 7 days, and stuff like that. But even here, you can see that like the product that you are showing right now is obviously performs worse for Sundays. Like not worse, maybe, but just less sales. So do your algorithm can evaluate some bad days for the product and change bids differently? Because we actually have a lot of products that performs worse or better for the weekends or for the work days in general. So anything like that?
Absolutely. So that's exactly what you're looking at here. So using our tool, you can actually see the percentage better or worse any particular hour is. So you might find that, Sunday before 4 a.m. does 100% worse or 90% worse than the average hour. You can then come in here and say, you know what, Sundays, we're going to decrease our bids by 90%, and we'll just save a whole bunch of money on those days, and we'd be better off pushing them on spreading them out the rest of the days where we do the majority of our sales. So yeah, you have that opportunity inside AdBadger.
Yeah, so actually the question was whether like basic algorithm understand it, and if I launch like your automatization of bids and stuff, whether it can define that it is a Sunday, and it's see that for the past like 7, I don't know how many Sundays, it's been bad sales, and change bids automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. So it's constantly looking at that, and it's like, what is for the next day, for the next hour, for the next click, like, is it better than normal? Like, are we trending positively at this time or not? So yeah, those things are really valuable. So I love this part of what you can do here.
Okay.
Okay.
So Alex, you want to ask some
Yeah,
questions?
I want to ask Michael, how do you work with new products? How do you choose bidding strategy for new
Yeah.
products? Do you take in account Amazon suggestions, or you use another way to?
Yeah. You guys are asking a lot of good questions. So one of the things that we do for new bids where you don't have a revenue per click yet, we do something called an inch up method. So what we do not do is something like this, where we just sort of blast the bid. We give it a gigantic bid as fast as possible. Instead, what we do is, you can end up with a situation like this, where you paid a lot, you got a lot of clicks, you have very few conversions, and then you end up with like, an ACoS that's really high. This is very common what people do when they first launch a campaign. What we do instead is what I call the inch up method, where we just sort of inch it up a little bit every day. So we prefer to start slow, start low, to find the lowest bid to give us the most traffic. So for example, we might launch a keyword, and on day 1 and 2, it doesn't get any clicks. And then on days 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it slowly gets more. So you can see here that we spent a lot less and potentially got the same amount of conversions, except now we did at a 24% ACoS. So we're trying to always find the lowest and slowest bid to get. So we move it very slowly. And this is the benefit of a daily optimization. So it's the benefit of not setting it at 10 and then waiting a week to see what it does, or waiting 2 weeks to see what it does. What you can do is sort of have a bid on day 1, and then immediately on day 2, see if it was too high or too low. Make an adjustment. Okay, it was still too low. Let's make an adjustment. Okay, it was still too low. Let's make an adjustment. It was still too low. Let's make an adjustment. So, by day 8, it'll probably stay at 70. So we have this inching up strategy baked into what it is that we do, which is a really smart way to approach low data situations. So you end up spending less, you get a better ACoS, it helps you find the smallest bid to give you the most conversions. And of course, you wouldn't want to do this to hundreds of keywords at the same time, because then you have 100 keywords all at 10 cents, then 100 keywords at 20 cents. And then so like you want to be strategic about how you do that. And AdBadger is actually looking at what the ACoS is. And if your ACoS is good, then it will inch up faster. If your overall ACoS is bad, it'll do just a few things, inching up a few at once. So that's a key thing to what we think about.
Okay, I have a related question to that.
Yeah.
Do you know, like when you launch a new product, there is always a lot of talking about this honeymoon period and stuff like that? Yeah. So do you actually believe it exists? And if yes, don't you worry about spending like half of your honeymoon period just to finding like a bit when your product will work if you start very slow, like from 10 cents and stuff?
Yeah, I do believe it exists. And that was really like a theoretical example. Most people, so that starting bid, like where it begins, the users actually enter that in. So like, where would you like to begin? So the users get some control. So in your case, people would know generally like what their normal starting bid is, and they would go and start it. Or if you're doing like search term graduation, where you're taking a search term that converted well in an auto and you want to move it to a manual, you get options of like, do you want to start at a certain number? Do you want to start at what the CPC was when it was a search term? So we give a lot of people options when they first get started with the new campaign.
Yeah. So in general, if I understand everything correctly, in your app or in your tool, you have this option to put like the lowest bid from where to start. And it still should be done like manually. Yes. So the PPC manager or like whoever works with the PPC should do this manually. And Yeah, and in general, you prefer to start with lower bids.
In
So do you have
that's just
any like aggressive strategies?
yeah. So the most common place I get aggressive is when you have a campaign that does 30 conversions or more in any month, and the ACoS is good. That's when I think you could step on the gas and go a little bit more aggressive. There are rare conditions where I say bidding up and down is nice. So that's where you do have something that's converting really well, that's going really fast, and you can actually get even more aggressive on top of our bid algorithm. Turning on something like bid up and down for something that converts so well can be a lethal combo, like for your top 1% of keywords.
Okay, so one more question about the your tool. In general, on Amazon, we have three most common bidding strategies, like down only, up and down, and fixed bids. So do you like put a strategy that you want to work with inside your tool, or it is like just know what you're using inside each campaign? So how does this work?
Yeah, so that is some control that we leave for the user. So basically, we're going to optimize the bids based off whatever the user wants to test and play with. So if a user wants to test up and down or fixed or down only, we allow them to do that. And then our algorithm will try to get the best result with the conditions that they have. So if somebody's in up and down or down only, we'll still be bidding in accordance with a predictive revenue per click model.
And what is your personal preference about bidding strategy?
I would say maybe for your very best top 1% of keywords that convert really good, that are just absolutely, doing more than 30 conversions a month. I think I do like up and down, the aggressiveness for those very, very best keywords. But for the most part, I'm doing down only.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Michael, and how you work during Q4? When almost all bids on Amazon rise, and how you deal with it?
Yeah. So again, it's sort of a mix of what we let users do and what we do with them. So if you can see my screen again. So one thing that our users can do is they can sort of open up all of their keywords. And the first thing that I recommend is that they go back in time and sort of see where they were last year in Q4. So we spent a lot of effort. So, if we go back to last year, what this could allow you to do is actually see how your conversions and your ACoS are doing. So here you can see like your ACoS gets lower and your sales go up. So I can sort of go back in time and sort of see what I did with my CPC. So if I add in, CPC here, I can see what I did and like how I played with that. And I can go into all these different keywords, and hopefully I've tagged them. So you can tag keywords however you want. So let's say I wanted something like, I don't know, hot Q4. Hot Q4. So I can sort of tag it like that. And like, these are the best keywords in Q4. I can do something like that to have good historical data. And then I can sort of see that data. So I can say, okay, all of my hot Q4 things, I can automate bids, but I can also play with, so I can do something like, let me just percentage increase these by, 50% or 2x or something like that. Or I can let the algorithm just sort of work with it. And I have another option, which I can do, I can break these out and build a single keyword campaign if I want. So it'll just build a single keyword campaign for that with the same products and the same negatives. I also get the option of playing with the up and down nature of it. I'm sorry, with the max and min bid caps. So I can say, hey, you know what, during Q4, don't go below, a $3 bid. And, I can change my basement. So it's just ways that I can work with the algorithm. What's cool about it is like, instead of managing bids, you can manage the algorithm. So there's lots of cool ways that we offer to not just manage your bids, but manage the algorithm itself.
Okay, nice. But let's make my questions more difficult. What if the product doesn't have historical data of sales from last year? What to do and how to choose the right bidding strategy?
I would say when you don't have that, hopefully you sort of have a sense of how your industry changes. So there's tools inside Amazon, like the Product Opportunity Explorer, that you can go and look at and try to get a sense of historical data, so that you can use that to inform what it is that you're doing. In general, your very best, top 10% of keywords should probably get like a 2 to 3x bump in both bids and budget. Your mid-tier keywords underneath that should probably get like a 50% bump. And then your bottom tier keywords may not deserve a bump. So sort of spend the money on your most impactful things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, Michael, nice, thank you. I know you have another one meeting, and I want to thank you for this meeting. It is very interesting point to discuss bidding, and I'd like to make another one webinar because we have a lot of undiscussed topics.
As
And
always, yeah.
yeah, Michael, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming us. Have a good day. Stay in touch, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Likewise. Have a good one, guys. Great questions.
Bye bye.
Thanks a lot, Michael.